What's up, War Report family? I'm your host, C-Dub. Last week, Auburn landed 3 commitments for the 2024 class. Tonight, Mike G and B-Will joins me as I ask the question, who's next? We'll discuss that and more in the latest edition of the Midweek Report. Happy Wednesday, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the latest edition, the June 21st edition of the Midweek Report, courtesy of our show sponsor, auburnsports.com. Guys, one of the best ways that you can support us is by supporting our supporters. So please be sure to head over to auburnsports.com and check out what they got going on over there. And as always, we want to send a special shout out to JG Tate and the good fellas at auburnsports.com for supporting us, coming through whenever we need them. Thank you, guys. And also, we want to thank y'all again for hanging out with us. We'll thank you even more if you was to share this content. Social media, Facebook, Twitter. Use the hashtag, even at us, so that we can see that you shared it. Smash that like button and subscribe to those of you who are new to our channel. Ike is going to be working on some more content this week in terms of Watch the Film. Mike G, tell them how they can get that, as well as how they can get a green name. And you're muted, by the way, before you start talking.
Become a patron member. It's time, guys. You want to get in line for this before the season starts. We're going to be live from SEC Media Days. We're going to have some patron-only content. I know people are going to complain, but become a member. Some stuff we do is just for family. And if you're a patron member, you don't have to worry about it. So $5.99 a month, hit that join button. If it looks like it's a little extra money on Apple, it's because it is, but it's not us charging you that. It's them. So if you find a computer and sign in with your YouTube credentials, you can get around that and pay the $5.99 price. You can also give the gift of the War Report by gifting a membership to somebody who has not made the decision to do it. You can't pick who it goes to. YouTube will choose them at random, but we appreciate everybody who does this. That comes straight to us as well. Guys, we're giving away a T-shirt. It's drawing time. Hashtag get your weight up to win this sleek black War Report T-shirt. Listen, I don't know if you guys know, but black, no shadowing. So, you know, it's summertime. If you got to hide some weight, you need this shirt. Trust me, I know. I'm hiding mine right now. So, hashtag get your weight up to get in the comments. Not giving away a mug tonight in honor of Ike not being here. And I will wait at least an extra 20 seconds for you guys before I hit draw. So,
Nice.
jump in this draw. You got to be here to win at the hour mark. Want to thank one of our show sponsors, Harmon Mechanical, harmonmechanical.com for all your summer heating and cooling needs. Hit them up at 334-219-0717, guys. B has used them. They're great. I've been in this house. They're awesome. They help keep us cool. And last but not least, check out the Auburn Express podcast powered by the War Report. So we got podcast exclusive content. Mike Mack and memes this week. We took a little break, but we're back talking about how this year's basketball roster stacks up to last year. You don't want to miss that. Amen Corner, all the podcast exclusive content coming at you guys over in podcast world. Support us over there too.
Gentlemen, let's not waste any more time. Let's get into it. Recruiting is fun again.
It is.
It's really in this offseason where there's not a lot of news.
Yeah,
Hugh Freeze has made Auburn quite relevant in the news cycle, and there's actual things to discuss. Like, that's the thing. Like, we're not having to make up stuff and discuss content. There's movement on the plains. Auburn hosted 6 visitors this past weekend. 5 of them offensive linemen. Now, if you know Auburn, and offensive linemen, we've been allergic to those over the past few seasons. Auburn had 5 official offensive linemen to visit. We'll talk about B-Matt's list over on auburnsports.com. He listed potential commits who could be committing very soon. But I just want to talk about the fact that there's a lot of momentum when it comes to recruiting.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the best ways that you can tell that there's momentum is obviously kids are excited or they enjoy a place when they visit. But it seems like with just about every recruit, Auburn actually improved their chances as they visited, even guys that they had a long shot with. I think the DB, I can't think of his name, out of Alabama. He's an Alabama commit who seemed like a long Mbakwe, seemed like a long shot. They even gave this kid something like, I don't know about Auburn. So I like what this staff is doing. B. Will, just your thoughts just in the momentum that we're seeing with Auburn.
The momentum is tangible. It's real. It's exactly what it looks like, I think. The kids that we're targeting, I don't think we're out of it for anybody we're targeting that has not recruited elsewhere. I do think there is some, let's say it's going to be a heavy lift to get some of the kids who are already recruited elsewhere, especially big programs, to flip and recruit here. But I don't think that we will finish the cycle without at least one of those. At least one of those. I don't know who. I'm not certain. If we all follow, some social media, which we do, it's a pretty safe bet based on how the staff and the other players were reacting that Perry Thompson might be that flip. But whether he's the one or not, what I see is such an effort to recruit that it's hard to believe we won't end up top 10. I'm saying top 10. We still got a ways to go because some kids want to recruit the summer before they start their final year of their final season of high school football. So that means in the next month or so, there's going to be even more momentum. We're going to have some more opportunities to climb the leaderboards, but it doesn't stop there because we know the season is where we can do the most gaining ground because Auburn still isn't, based on what we have put on the field, a premier stop for offensive talent, for offensive linemen, for wide receivers, or necessarily for quarterbacks. Now, I think we're set in the 24 class on quarterback. Hugh Freeze he got his guy and we're good. But it's so foreign to me to see players leaving and they're doing interviews. They're like, oh, I can't wait to come back here. And not only do they say that, but they come back. They say they're coming back and then they actually come back, which is a far cry from what it used to be. Yeah, I wouldn't mind coming back here. They never come back. So the momentum we've seen so far, I don't know, I'm trying not to get my hopes up. Again, I say this every time we talk about recruiting or we talk about the talent we have assembled at certain positions. I'm trying not to get my hopes up. I'm not going to let y'all get me all hyped up because we have some very good-looking commits. I want pen to paper, number one. That's what I want. I want signing day. I want them to commit. I want them to sign. Then I will begin to get excited about these. And then I want them to play and stay. I think that's the full recruiting cycle now in 2023. In the era of the transfer portal and NIL, yeah, you can commit. That means almost nothing. You can sign, but honestly, you could sign and then kids are asking to be released from the letter of intent. So that doesn't even have the same weight it used to have. I want to see them commit, sign. I want to see them in spring camp. I want to see them in fall camp competing because I don't think anybody who is a high profile recruit actually gets shelved their whole first year and is happy with it. Kids want to play. They want to play early. And Hugh Freeze himself has said that that's something that he's selling is the opportunity to come in here and make a difference. So commit, sign, play, and hopefully stay the duration of their college football careers at Auburn. The momentum is up.
Mike G, your thoughts on just what we've seen in recruiting? It's actually exciting to keep in touch with, man.
I want to say I made a statement a few weeks ago that I think that Hugh Freeze may already be the best recruiter Auburn has had at head coach. And everybody was up in arms in the comment section. Oh, my God. Remember all Gus's failed classes, right? And I am telling you, this work that's being put into recruiting is unprecedented.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it again for the people in the back. The work that's being put in recruiting is unprecedented. I've never seen a coaching staff at Auburn work harder at recruiting than this current coaching staff this year.
Yeah.
And with NIL, it's harder. It's harder to recruit now than it ever has been, especially in the SEC, because you're recruiting against dollars being thrown around everywhere.
Yep.
It's no longer come here, I can get you to the NFL, you'll play, right? So Hugh Freeze had a strategy, guys, right? First, it was, we need you. Come play. There's time here. That resonates with some players who do not want to go to a premier program and risk getting lost in the shuffle of 5 and 4 stars.
Yeah.
Eventually, where Hugh Freeze hopes to be is that program where players could get lost in the shuffle of 5s and 4 stars. Right. So, my feelings about recruiting is that it's going as planned. They've got 8 commits so far. I'm not sure how many they can take in this class, but we know it's over 20. And so it's pretty much safe to say they're a third of the way there. And it's June. This is not a position Auburn was in last year, I believe.
No.
Right?
No.
So, I mean, they've got a bunch of commits. Early signing day is so important. Guys, early signing day changes the whole dynamic of recruiting. Where, you got to, if you want to announce and you want to know where you're going, their kids are going to have to commit before they finish their senior season, a lot of them. Then if they're on track to graduate early, they get into spring ball and get the jump on all the other 5 stars that maybe could not academically qualify until the summer. So Hugh Freeze is doing a fantastic job. Listen, you can criticize this man on a lot of things, but you cannot criticize him on recruiting. Right. You can't. Right. I mean, I think it helps that there are more liberties given to coaches in recruiting now, certainly.
Right.
But I believe the fan base as a whole felt like Harsin should have asked for forgiveness rather than permission as it pertained to NIL. I'm not saying what's right or wrong, but I think it's clear that there's more support on that front being given to Hugh Freeze, and he is certainly taking advantage of it as he should.
Yeah.
So, man, it's going great. The excitement, like you said, it's palpable, man. You can feel it in the air when you're walking around here. People are just like, man, could this 5-star that they're looking at perform like a 5-star when they get here? Mm-hmm. Could the next big name we hear about in camp actually be heard of in the fall?
Yeah.
So, I'll tell you what, man. The streets are out here saying Hugh Freeze is high on Jay Fair, which is another reason why I'm behind Hugh Freeze, because great minds think alike, guys. Great minds.
You've been high on Jay Fair. This is true.
Yeah, I've been consistently high on him. And so we did the On to Victory podcast earlier this week. That's posted on their YouTube channel. You guys can go watch that. But we had DJ James on, and he talked about him being one of those dudes that's burning folks up in one-on-ones. And I'm just like, if you have the development, he's coming in and he's recognizing where the talent is immediately. I trust him more to do that on the recruiting trail. If he can come in and say, hey, these are the guys, right? A guy who was little used, by the way. Not like, okay, Jorko Hunter's a dude. Yeah, obviously. But, the not so obvious talent to everybody else that he seems to be recognizing on this current roster, I think is a reflection of his aptitude as it pertains to developing players on the to evaluating players in recruiting. It's exciting, man. I think fans should be excited, and the expectation should be he's going to win his fair share of those battles against the other coaches. So anyway,
against the other coaches,
against the other coaches in the SEC.
Okay,
yeah. He's got to go. He's going to go head to head with Saban, guys. He's going to go head to head with Kirby. We did a whole last morning drop talking about like 5 commits that could flip.
Yeah.
And if he gets even one of them, that's a huge coup because of the guys we listed.
Listen, and I didn't get a chance to weigh in on that, but we're gonna get to some of these potential these guys. But you've already gone head to head with Dabo and got your QB for the class. You've gone head to head with Dabo and gotten your potential jack linebacker or outside linebacker. The trifecta would be to go head and head with Alabama and win this year as well. Like you already have sent a signal and a warning to others that it's not going to be easy going in our backyard and getting some of these kids. So to be able to flip a Perry Thompson or to be able to get someone that you go head and head with Bama with is clearly a shot to your rivals that Auburn ain't that school where you can just, don't have to be worried about in recruiting year after year. Things are changing. So I like it. I also like the fact that in this recruiting climate also, kids are really getting done with the process a lot earlier than expected. There are some kids who will wait to early signing day to make a decision, but a lot of kids really want to do this process. They may want to camp. They want to do their visits during the summer, and then they're shutting things down, getting ready for their final senior season. Some of these guys that we'll list here, like your Khalil Houses, Malik Blockton. And by the way, this list comes courtesy of auburnsports.com. Shout out to Brian Matthews for actually putting this list together. You guys can definitely go out there and check out that list for more in depth on these guys. But starting at the list is Khalil House. He was here over this past weekend. Was one of the 5 offensive linemen who's visited. And over the weekend, you saw a whole bunch of tweets of bat signals. And a lot of people thought that was Perry Thompson. Some people believe that this is for Khalil House, who they actually expect a commitment for. This guy is 6'4" on the inside of the line. Like this is someone who we're expecting a commitment from pretty soon. Some says as early as potentially this week. But you also got a guy like Malik Blockton, 4-star defensive end, according to auburnsports.com or Rivals, from Pike Road. Again, that's a pipeline that I think is starting to come from Pike Road. 14th in the state, 21st in the nation. His brother, Marcus Harris, he's set to announce July 8th. You got D'Angelo Barber out of Birmingham area, Pinson, Alabama. Linebacker. That's an Auburn, Arkansas battle. So Travis Williams is doing some work trying to get him. I think he has a visit coming to Arkansas soon. So
we're gonna have to keep an eye on that Travis guy.
We got to keep an eye on him for sure. Yeah. Speaking of Arkansas, there's a kid out of Arkansas, Wyatt Simmons, who's visited earlier this month, who's kind of an under the radar linebacker, but a lot of schools are after him. Clemson, FSU, Texas, Ole Miss. There's some big names that's trying to get this kid. Auburn likes where they stand with him. And then you have Jalen Crawford, the cornerback out of Georgia, who's a 4-star, plans to decide July 4th. So when we talk about some of these kids, to me, I'm keeping an eye on Khalil House, Malik Blockton. Obviously, for obvious reasons for Malik Blockton, because he's the brother of Marcus Harris. He's been coming to Auburn a lot throughout this year. I like him. I like our chances with him. I like Khalil House. I think Khalil House had camped at Auburn a few times, and the coaches liked him so much they invited him to stay for an official. Auburn looks to be in the driver's seat ahead of Ole Miss on this. But guys, your thoughts on these guys? Who do you think will be the next to commit to Auburn? Who are you keeping an eye on? This is not necessarily a prediction, but who you have your eye on?
Blockton, definitely, right? I mean, strong side defensive end is what they have him listed as. He'd be a little too heavy for. I don't know if he could play the jack. But it'll be interesting to see how they move him up.
He actually projects to be a defensive tackle. Like he may be doing exactly what his brother Harris is doing, playing on the interior.
So definitely keep an eye on him. Khalil House, great name, by the way.
Yes.
Khalil, great name. We must protect his house. He is. I think he's a lot. He's a lot. I think House is going to commit. They're looking at him to do so before the July 4th weekend. So fans should just keep an eye out in the next 11 to 12 days here for commitment from Khalil House. At running back, listen, man, if Cadillac wants him, I like him. I like anybody they want to bring in at running back. Wyatt Simmons, it seems like he's a Clemson lean. B talked about
Barber's a linebacker, by the way.
Yeah. Wyatt Simmons, it looks like he's a Clemson lean. But I'll be interested to see. B mentioned, we've already gone head to head with Dabo on one. So You know, I'll just be interested to see how this shifts. And then for the rest of these kids, I wonder how much conference realignment will play into their decisions to choose SEC schools over other schools. Mm-hmm. If you're a premier talent and you want to hit the field early, Auburn is a great place for you to come right now. So, yeah, I think, you know, of the guys you listed here, you know, or that BMAT had listed in his article, I see 3 of these guys coming to Auburn.
So your 3 is
Jalen Crawford, right, the corner, okay, right, and Blockton and House. I expect to land all 3 of those guys.
I'm going 3, but I'm actually going Barber, Blockton, and House.
Okay.
I like, and I know there's some bigger names, linebackers that Auburn is going after. I know the Reddick kid who's committed to Georgia, but it's like a Bama, Georgia, Auburn battle with him. I think you secure a guy like Barber as a linebacker. He's an interior linebacker. You need to add some more bodies in that room anyway. Crawford's not bad. I mean, that's actually, I feel good really about 4 of these guys: Crawford, Barber, Blockton, and House. I'm with you. Wyatt Simmons may be kind of a far shot at this point, but we will definitely see. But I feel really good because Barber actually named Auburn his leader recently, so that's why I feel really good about him. Hopefully, Auburn hangs on. That T. Will guy doesn't pull any funny business.
Yeah, T. Will, if you're watching, man, leave our people alone. Stay in. Don't
you love Auburn, T. Will?
right.
Don't you want
little Arkansas fans know he's a spy. We inserted a spy at defensive coordinator. No, but for real, we shouldn't be worried about Arkansas. Like I think a few freezes got us a ton of momentum going right now. And again, shout out to BMAT for just kind of giving us a scoop on these guys. You know, I think he'll get 3 of these. And I'll tell you what, of the 3, like, you know, you've got two 4-stars and 1 3-star. You know, they should continue to rise up the recruiting rankings. I think Rivals has them at 30th right now.
Yes.
247 has them at 28.
I gotta look and see where Rivals has us right now.
Yeah, I think they have.
Let's see.
Yeah, so right now 247 has Auburn 35.
Yes.
Okay. Which means, yeah, and they haven't had any additions since the last time I talked. So that means some other
Rivals
teams
has
jumped them.
I see 39 for Rivals.
Yeah. So some other teams jumped Auburn, pretty much.
But again, the quality of stars, like we're up there. It's just that we just don't have the numbers. A lot of schools that are ahead of us got more numbers.
Correct. So you know, with 8 commits immediately ahead of them, you know, West Virginia 11 commits, 9 commits, 9, 9, 12. Right, you know, Nebraska sitting at 28 with 11. Louisville is got 7 total commits. I'm sorry, 12 commits. You know, I'm looking at the wrong column. But yes, everybody ranked ahead of Auburn has more commits than Auburn, except for Alabama. Alabama's the only team ranked ahead of Auburn that does not have more commits. They've got the same amount of commits, but you guys know how it is, man. When you're raking in 5-stars, they got 3 5-stars on their recruiting.
Well, there you go.
Right. And
that'll do it.
And see, you know, B and I talked about how getting just that 1 5-star boosts your recruiting class significantly.
For sure.
So when you got 3 on them and you only got 8 commits and they're like, you know, 10 spots ahead of you, that should tell you something. You know, they're definitely going to finish in the top 10, which is what Hugh Freeze should be shooting for. I think you'll see him start to climb those recruiting rankings here because those guys are definitely putting in the work. But this is a good list of candidates that they're looking at, right? And, you know, we haven't even talked about, you know, the possibility of them landing Cam Coleman.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, that's a few other guys for sure that are on their list.
Mm-hmm. Listen, stack W's in recruiting, and you will be able to, in the spring, and you'll be able to stack W's in the fall.
Yeah.
W's in the spring equal W's in the fall. That's it, right? So, you know, B has made the point repeatedly. You can be a mediocre game day coach if you get enough talent in and still win. So, you know, that's what they've got to do. But if they're evaluating better than the last 2 staffs, then we can trust these rankings more than we could before.
Right.
I've never seen so many top 10 classes fail than during the Gus era. Right. Yeah. So, you know, they've got to get better at
Why is this a cap? A&M's on the clock too.
That's right. That's absolutely right. Yeah. So I mean, you know, in today's college football, you got to have a quarterback. Yeah. Guys, you have to have a quarterback. And I know everybody's going to say, oh, of course you have to have a quarterback. Y'all just gotten used to seeing it. But, you know, 3 yards in a cloud of dust where your quarterback just throws a few times a game and hands off to a dynamic running game. Like, guys are too athletic for that now. So in recruiting, you have to have your guy. You've got to go out and you got to get multiple quarterbacks that are good. And then somehow convince all these guys to stay on your team in case one gets hurt or is not playing well. Mm-hmm. So, you know, the re-recruiting of your current roster is going to be important for Hugh Freeze as well. They're putting in the work, so I expect them to get their fair share of the 5 guys that we just mentioned, right? 3 out of 5, Hugh Freeze lands. Take it to the bank. 3 out of 5.
Okay.
To the bank?
To the bank. To the bank, B.
B, who you like?
I hear what you're saying.
Well, jump in here, B. Who are you liking out of this list? Khalil House, Malik Blockton, D'Angelo Barber, Wyatt Simmons, Jalen Crawford. From B-Matt's list, who are some of the guys that you're keeping an eye on? Not a prediction. This isn't a prediction show, but you're really keeping an eye on them in terms of as we get closer to their decision.
Crawford is a big one because other teams that are recruiting like crazy, Florida and LSU.
Yeah. And
those are the 2 teams vying for his services in addition to Auburn. Mm-hmm. Now we've got our best recruiter on the job, Zach Etheridge. So if you want somebody leading the charge, it's Zach Etheridge. You feel like you're doing pretty good. But I have thought this to myself and not thought it when it comes to an open forum. But we can all acknowledge that NIL and what that looks like for the players who are currently here can influence the players that could potentially come in. They could say, well, hey, here's what it looks like for these players. Here's what this player can expect. Here's what we use to go into determining that. And that's something that's on the table for you. Now, they can't make a deal. They can't promise them anything. But it's fair game to say, my name is Jarquez Hunter. Here are the opportunities that I have thanks to On to Victory and NIL at Auburn. And that's all you can do. Okay. Well, I thought about it. Nobody who is visiting or getting recruited right now who has not signed and enrolled at Auburn University can receive NIL money or deals. They can't. And I know Auburn wouldn't break those rules because no, you can't get NIL deals before you sign to the school. No.
Right. But you're not getting it from the school. So
the part of the I will double check to make sure, but I am almost certain that you can't tangibly receive benefits before you're especially before you signed. I mean, that wouldn't even make any sense for Auburn's part. That's kind of a Florida thing.
But it's not Auburn though. It's not coming from Auburn.
Well, right? That for On to Victory's part is what I mean because they're associating with Auburn.
Okay. Well, when I say NIL deals, I mean obviously the collective is not going to pay any money, but they could still technically sign deals with individual companies, and it would not be against any rules, right?
Yes, right, exactly. Companies, yes. I'm not talking about companies. That's not at all what I'm discussing. I'm discussing when I say Auburn, I mean On to Victory because On to Victory, even though they are not the university, they are associated with the university. So, old-fashioned recruiting, right? The stuff that has never ever happened at Auburn ever in the history of ever. But that we know has influenced recruiting in other places. I saw the haul that Florida brought in over the last week, right? And I'm like, really?
They went crazy.
That y'all get down like that. Nobody can get any collective money. It's the summertime. What deal is a local business signing for a kid who before you actually sign the paper? Like I would be worried if any business, local or otherwise, would say, son, I will pay you to endorse our university before you even sign here. Then I'd be like, you're stupid. First of all, business, you're stupid because that makes no sense. And this is a question I have for UC and you might. Are the old-fashioned recruiting ways still doing some work here? Is there some old-fashioned recruiting? I will not say anything more than old-fashioned recruiting. What's understood ain't got to be said. You know
yes. Yeah, because absolutely. Kids still want to play early.
Right.
Because kids still want to play early, and that's Hugh Freeze's primary pitch right now, at areas of need.
That's not what he meant.
No, that's not what I meant.
No, okay.
That's not what he meant.
There we go.
Yeah, when you put it that way, yes. As it is happening.
Still yes.
Right, but there's plausible deniability.
I mean, there always was. So that's why it works.
You can dress it up as something completely legal. Right. So I mean, it's if you ask me, it's easier to hide the money now than it's ever been.
I agree.
Yeah.
Because if they're already getting money, who's counting the exact dollars?
Right.
I mean, right now there's no money trail to look for. The money is flowing, and they don't have nobody who has the enforcement to essentially investigate every school that's doing it. They have troubles with enforcement before.
Right.
The problem with the NCAA is they don't have subpoena power. They can't compel you to do anything, which is why if you made them use the resources to find the truth, they would absolutely hammer you.
Right.
And schools that came forward and self-reported, they're just like, all right, slap on the wrist.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's happening. I think it's happening. But these coaches, they have to function within the framework of what is real in college football right now. So, listen, man, if you're going to cheat better than everybody else, I guess.
That's it. Be the best cheater.
Yeah, right. Be the best at everything you do. But, I don't think they need to do that. I don't think they need to do that. I think NIL with all monies kind of being even. If you are a dynamic talent, you're going to get paid at Auburn, just like you would get paid anywhere else. Guys, I promise you. No. And I can't say it out loud, but I know the numbers. Some of the better players last year got paid per month. And they were crazy numbers.
Yeah.
So the money is there, right? For fair market value.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you hold up your end of the bargain as a player, you show up, you show out, you stay out of trouble. Show up, show out, stay out of trouble, and the money is going to be there for you if you are a high-profile athlete attending Auburn. So any one of these guys, if I believe there's enough money there that there are probably bidding wars going on.
Right.
Yeah. For some of these bigger, I mean, watch. What was the guy's name? That everybody's freaking out over in Bama land. Is it Perry Thompson?
Mm-hmm.
Watch Perry Thompson decommit. And I bet you the dollars start flying. He's that good.
I mean, low key, the dollars are probably already.
Yeah, they're flying.
He's going to be good.
But if all things are equal, if he feels like I'm gonna get money no matter where I go, it still boils down to choosing the best school for you athletically,
right,
and not financially.
Right.
That's where it's going to be. So. Yeah, I mean, listen, it's still this. If anything, I think there's more old school recruiting going on now than ever.
I mean, I'm inclined to agree.
Yeah, there's probably more of it going on now than ever. But I'm just glad the days, hopefully, of a kid getting suspended for taking $5 from somebody is over.
Right.
The NCAA has been that petty.
Right.
Where a kid needed a plane ticket home and somebody bought him a plane ticket. This was a real story. I forget the athlete, to go to a funeral, and he lost part of his athletic career because he couldn't afford to get home for family members for funeral.
Right.
So Auburn is so big on community. I just believe eliminate the need for these kids to have needs,
right,
outside of football. Because they are putting their bodies on the line, and I think they should be compensated for it. But, it does add a different dynamic when you start throwing money around, which is why it's important that you can still develop and get guys to the league. Because between the big boys, I personally think all the money is even when it comes to NIL.
I do too. And that's why I think
story programs.
Yes, absolutely. I don't think that Ohio State's alumni base is more fluid than Auburn's alumni base, or that Clemson's alumni base is somehow less fluid than Georgia's. Listen, as far as, because NIL is funded by fans and alum. That means if your alum go on to be, they would have to be high profile. They just have to get jobs, keep jobs, and climb in whatever industry they go to your school to get educated for. then they're going to be well positioned to fund your university later. I mean, that's how our engineering department, Auburn, it's elite because we have people graduate from the engineering department and they go on and they change industries, or they run the most profitable world in the company in the world. The most profitable company in the world in the case of Tim Cook, and they give back. You need to educate well. People give back, and then your university thrives off that. That's how the Ivies work, man. You just go make a lot of money because you can say you went to Harvard. Now come give a lot of money back to Harvard. And Auburn has its own version of that. In certain industries, architecture is elite. The vet school, it's elite. Like we've got money down here, and that's why we're well positioned. So some of the things that were holding us back before, they're no longer holding us back. Where you could say, oh, well, the under the table stuff is working this way, and they're giving more. You're like, yeah, but I say this: if NIL was working 10 years ago, I don't think we lose George Pickens to Georgia. I just don't. They didn't have a better offensive situation than we had. According,
they really didn't. They really didn't. There
wasn't a reason. Right. Like it was.
You're right.
You could kind of see it live as it was happening. I mean, he wanted to play. I think he wanted to play with Bo. I think he wanted to be here and be the #1 target, and Bo slinging around. I mean, who knows how different things go if you've got a true #1 wide receiver that's as skilled and as strong as George Pickens was on the outside for Bo Nix that he already had rapport with.
Going to Seth Williams and George Pickens. Don't get me started on that.
Don't get me started.
Don't what it was. We're moving on. Let me grab some super chats, some comments, and we'll get to the break. Corey Dub, appreciate you being with us. He says, appreciate the super chat for $4.99. He says, I'd like to donate to Mike's glamour shots that were plastered all over social media today.
It was one. And I think Ike had a really good picture. All you guys took great pictures. Mine is heavily edited.
That's funny. A little doctored up there. Auburn Dad, appreciate you, man. Appreciate the $5 super chat. He says to join Corey and praising Mike and Ike upgraded mug shots. By the way, Hugh shoving top tier coaches into lockers. Hey, I want to see more of that. We love to see that.
Outwork them. You don't have the results on the field. You can't sell proof of concept just yet. So just outwork them. Did you guys see where like all the fans were like there were fans literally in uproar over I think it was Thompson FaceTiming with DK Metcalf.
Yeah.
You know, and
what a man.
So Hugh Freeze's last year at Ole Miss was 2016 or 2017?
2016.
2016, right? And he coached a few games that season, I think, and then was fired midseason, if I remember
like that
correctly.
Something like that.
Right. So that was DK Metcalf's freshman year. And the idea that like it's unethical was being floated around for him to use an alum of a prior school to recruit for his current school. And I was just like, I just wasn't tracking the logic at all.
No, it doesn't. That's not logic. It makes no sense. That
he recruited him. He recruited him. And if the player themselves is willing to give the endorsement, I don't see the issue with it. Right.
Hugh had to develop a relationship with DK in order for DK to agree to come there. So he's going to say, hey, listen, man, Hugh told me this, and he did this for me. And he's going to do the same thing for you. Whether we got similar body type, skill sets, whatever. Mike, I don't know if you remember one of the first weeks of spring camp. What's his name? Left tackle. He got drafted from Ole Miss. Tunsil was right there. He came to see Hugh Freeze week 1 of spring camp while we were out there having practice. It wasn't even a recruiting. Well, no, but Hugh Freeze keeps recruits coming through. It wasn't a big recruiting weekend like we've had here recently, but his players liked him. The guys he recruited heavily, they like him, and they come to see him and support him. I don't know why those players couldn't speak to the credibility of Hugh Freeze to a prospective recruit. Why not?
Yeah, remember when we were talking about how players commit to coaches and not programs? And everybody's like, we need guys who love Auburn. Like that's not most of it. Most of it is guys.
Not if you're recruiting at this level.
Yeah, at this level, man. It's commitment to coaches, system, and concept.
Yeah.
That's what players are committing to. If you had success in that, you're always going to support that guy that, believed in you from the very beginning. Yeah. So if he felt like, Hugh Freeze had to feel like he had a good enough relationship with DK Metcalf to hit him up and be like, hey, can come talk to this guy about like playing wide receiver in my system.
Yeah.
DK said he was a good guy. You could trust him. You know,
Right.
commit and trust the process.
And by the way, I'm in the NFL, so obviously I know what I'm talking about.
And obviously I'm a stud. So if you want to be like me, you know, go play for Hugh. I like the messaging. I like that he's using every tool at his disposal.
Absolutely.
You know, I disagree strongly with the notion that it's unethical.
Right. It's only unethical if it's not on your team.
Correct. Yeah, which is what people were throwing at me. Like they were like, "Oh, you only have a problem. You don't have a problem with it because it's Auburn." And I was like, "No, I don't have a problem with it because I don't have a problem with it."
Right.
You know, like I would not have a problem with Gus Malzahn using Cam to recruit quarterbacks to UCF.
Right.
He's probably not going to go.
Right.
But still UCF.
Nothing wrong with it.
Yeah. But he coached him.
Yeah.
He actually coached him. He was his offensive coordinator during his Heisman run. Why wouldn't you use that if you were Gus?
Right.
Correct.
I don't get it.
Keep it moving. Hugh Rayleigh says the big worry is, has Saban ever lost a recruit he prioritized in recruiting?
Not if you ask Bama fans, because it's always we don't want them if they didn't we didn't want them anyway.
But the thing is, if it's a 5-star recruit, you can't use that logic because to Hugh's point, he's pretty much have gotten every 5-star, like big time 5-star he was in it for, especially in this state. He has.
Yeah, let him lose one.
So yeah, if he lose this will be a huge loss.
It's gonna be like recruiting Jenga, right? Just pull that one important one at the bottom.
Falls down,
and it's over. Retire. You're old.
James Barnett says, fellas, I will say it again. When we flip Bama and Georgia, we will have a top 10 class or lower. Bank it. Just my opinion. James, tell me, who's the Georgia guy we flip?
Right. Yeah, we got a list of Bama guys.
I want to see. You're probably talking about Reddick, but tell me who are you thinking about? So let me know. I'm curious about that. Corey Dub says Blockton is the brother of Marcus Harris. You know he's coming. House, Wyatt Simmons, those should be the next 3. He even comes back and says Simmons is an AU lean, not Clemson. So so Auburn, hey, it could be a clean sweep of those 5.
I don't know.
I would love to clean up on the Crimson recruits, man, because we've lost a lot of battles.
Yeah, man, screw them.
For real. I think Walker White was a great, hey, get out my yard, pick up.
That was a big one.
Cam Coleman, like you mentioned, Mike, that would be a wonderful hands-off Dabo
down
pickup.
The street, B.
I love it. I know, but they've owned
10 miles from me.
James says Riddick, so that's what I figured he was talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see here. Anthony Robinson says that I think the 3 linemen are next.
Hey, listen, man. Got to win the trenches, man, and you win football games.
I'm just excited that we're recruiting offensive linemen. Are you?
Oh man, dude, it's got to be one of those things where you don't even think about it. Just recruit guys that can block, protect your quarterback, and open holes for your running back, man. Like it's linemen, right? You know, Cam used to call them the big uglies down there. Doing the work,
big
man.
Nasties.
The big nasties, you know. You slap his big nasties on the butt and drink some Cam juice and just go out and wreck people. That was his formula. You remember Cam juice?
Yeah, I remember Cam juice. Oh man, where was NIL when you
right? Cam juice would have been.
We would have been on store shelves in Auburn, Alabama.
Yeah, that was own line of vitamin waters.
For real.
Dana Jones says would love to get Riddick and shove Saban in a locker. It would be amazing if that happened. Haley Tubbs says I think things will really ramp up when they put it together on the field. I agree with this. I think this is why the portal was so important, because Hugh got some guys that he can build a concept around to at least show future recruits what he's trying to do. Yep. So absolutely, I agree with that 100%. Thanks for commenting, Haley. Chris says, Scoot Henderson, man, I wish these guys would just stop bringing up I chose the G League over AU. Yeah, it makes me wonder what could have been. Scoot Henderson, Green.
Scoot.
Anyway, Corey Weber says Perry won't decommit. He'll just flip to AU if it happens.
Yeah, listen, I mean,
this is going down to the wire, guys.
Yeah. Like, I think it will be one of those things where, like, obviously he's going to have to. I think it'll happen in a vacuum.
Yeah.
Right. I think it'll happen in a vacuum. So he'll decommit and then commit. Right. But to decommit, he's going to have to. But here's the only thing I disagree about him losing his spot. If he decommits and Bama still feels like they have a chance at him, Like you can't use that whole your spot's going to be gone deal. This guy can go play wherever he wants.
Right.
Any school's going to take it.
They would cut somebody before the fall next year.
Yeah, they'll process somebody with a gray shirt or something to get him. Yeah, trust me. Somebody's losing a scholarship.
You can't pull that with this kid.
No.
Yeah.
You can't pull that with this kid. All right, guys. Listen, we're at the break. Y'all, good conversation so far. Do us a favor and share this on social media so that people can get access to this content, that they know that we're out here. Smash the like button. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. Let's pay some bills and acknowledge our sponsors.
Yeah. This edition of the War Report is brought to you by our generous sponsors. AuburnSports.com. For news and notes on all things Auburn sports, head over to AuburnSports.com. Harmon Mechanical, a heating and air company offering premier service to the Auburn area and surrounding areas. Give them a call at 334-219-0717 or head over to their website at harmonmechanical.com. Let them know the War Report sent you. Harmon Mechanical. We're there when you need air. And our giveaway sponsor, War Eagle Oil. For all of your motor oil and related products, head over to wareagleoil.com.
Guys, become a patron member. Talked about this at the top of the show. Best way to support our content. We're going out to SEC Media Days for you guys. We're going to be there all week talking to coaches, players. They have yet to announce which players are going to SEC Media Days. We're going to keep an eye on that for you guys, but we will be live on site. Look out for exclusive interviews from Cole Kublik. Some of the ESPN guys, Zach Blackerby will be on site with us over at Locked on Auburn. You don't want to miss this content. Become a patron member. Give the gift of the War Report as well. Just look for that gifted membership button. Give that away. YouTube will choose these at random. So if you interact with our channel at a high level and you have not made the decision to become a patron, this may be the way you get a little taste of that patron life. So watch out for your email on that one. Top of our broadcast, I mentioned it. We're giving away a t-shirt. We do this every live cast. Hashtag get your weight up in the comments right now to enter. Right now, I've got about 69 people in here. So we want to get that number up. There are over 200 of you watching. Let's get to at least 150 before we hit that draw button. But hashtag get your weight up. Make sure you spell it correctly and don't run it together with any words if you want to get in there. I want to talk about the podcast here, Auburn Express, powered by the War Report. We got podcast exclusive content. B is working hard to get that out for you guys every single day. Please go support us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or whatever you listen to podcasts on. We are there. Last but not least, definitely want to give a shout out to our longtime sponsor, the RogueShop.com, baby. Visit RogueShop.com. Use code REPORT to get 15% off that next order. You guys have been leaving great reviews for them on social media. And our guy, Richard, that runs that really appreciates it. Comments about customer service and responsiveness. Guys, please help us out. You can support us by supporting our sponsors. We picked up Golden's Cast Iron as our new Sunday sponsor, too. A lot of you were leaving comments on Twitter saying, hey, I'm looking at the Komodo grill. Guys, go get your grill on. Some of you were asking in the comments, hey, what is Mike smashing? A cheeseburger off my Komodo grill from Golden's Cast Iron. That's exactly what I was eating. So you guys, please go support our sponsors. They believe in us, and we want you to believe in them.
Mike to move to the South, he eating all kinds of bad now. I ain't never heard him say I'm eating a burger just off rip like that.
Yeah, it's happening. I'm being re-southernized. Everywhere I go serves mac and cheese, and I can't resist seeing if they have better mac and cheese than the last mac and cheese I had. So everything's fried.
Welcome back.
Listen, Mike would visit me. He'd be like, man, everyone's so fat down here, man. It's like, what's going on?
I ain't telling people I came down fat shaming. That's not a conversation with people.
Goodness gracious. Everyone is shaped like a zero.
Hell, I'm fat right now. No room to talk about nobody.
Oh, man. But anyway, listen, I think this is a pretty fun topic here. A while back, Hugh Freeze talked about recruiting, and he said, and I'm paraphrasing, Mike G, you heard him say, you can add context to this, but he said that if they don't land a top 7 recruiting class in the first 3 years that they're here, they're in trouble.
Okay.
Right? I think he was kind of onto something, because I looked at the last years. What I did was I looked at the last years that Auburn was actually an actual contender. That goes back to 2017 when they went to the SEC championship, 2013 when they went to the national championship, and 2010 when they won it all. And what I did was I looked at the 3 recruiting classes prior to those years to see how Auburn did. Now, I think you'd be interested to see what Auburn did leading up to the 2010 championship year. 2008, Auburn finished 20th in nationally, 5th in the SEC. Now, that season, people kind of gave Tubbs a lot of crap because they was like, he's going duck hunting, whatever. He ain't really recruiting. He's kind of checking out, all that stuff. 2009, Auburn finished 19th in the nation, 9th in the SEC, but that was a transition year. That was when Chizik's staff was first getting in there. So they was trying to make the best of what they could with that recruiting class. His first year, Chizik finished in 2010. He finished 4th. That was the year they had Michael Dyer, Cam Newton, all those kids, and they finished 2nd in the SEC that season. We all know what happened leading up to that. Now, do want to ask y'all a question about that, but I'll come back to that later. In 2013, this was the national championship game that we lost to FSU. Sorry to bring that up. But leading up to that, 2011, Auburn finished 7th nationally, 4th in the SEC. 2012, they finished 10th, 3rd in the SEC. 2013, they finished 8th, 4th in the SEC. Leading up to that was that special year 1. 2017 and 2015, they finished 7th nationally, 4th in the SEC. The following year, they finished 8th, which is 4th in the SEC again. In 2017, they finished 14th, which was 6th in the SEC. In each of these years that Auburn contended or was in the conversation for the national championship or just title contention, they at least had at least one recruiting class where they finished in the top 7. So, how critical is it for Hugh, in order to get Auburn back, how critical is it for him to get and deliver on his promise in the top 7 recruiting class? I'll start with you, B.
I'm listening to those numbers in those years. But then I'm thinking about those teams, right? Each successful season in the last 15 years comes down to probably one player, maybe two. One, maybe two players, which is not unusual. It's football. We know how important the quarterback is, right?
Yep. I like where you're going with this.
One player can absolutely turn the tides of an entire season. I think Cole Kublik was the one who tweeted out the other day and responding to, it was a couple months ago, responding to a question about who's the greatest quarterback. He tweeted out Cam Newton is the only wide receiver, the only person on the 2010 championship team to have thrown an NFL pass with, I think, his offensive lineman that blocked for him in the 2010 season. They had a total of like 5 or fewer starts in the NFL of across all 5 of them. I forgot the exact metrics, but it was by far the worst supporting cast as far as talent that went on to be successful again. In terms of support, Cam Newton was a singular force. He did lifting that no other college player has ever done for their team. And no other college players had to.
But that line that he had blocking for him was pretty good.
It was a very good college line. And that's not to
the offense was actually pretty
line.
Good.
Yeah. Like the offense was good. We had talented players on that team, but this notion and what we've come to recognize as far as who's winning the championships over the last, since Cam Newton won that one for us, it's not this every player, you've got to have 5s everywhere. No, there were not 5 stars everywhere on that team. There weren't even 4 stars everywhere on that team, because one player elevated the entire team. His value there at that position, what he could do for an entire offense, it powered Auburn to a championship, and we know that. I think about Jared Stidham in 2017, his signing in 2017 as a 5-star, and he was a 5-star and not just a transfer because he sat out a year after Baylor fell apart. So Baylor fell apart, and then it just ended up, he didn't even like play ball for anybody. He was like practicing with some high school kids back in Texas. Did y'all know he was from Texas? And he signed with Auburn. And that boosted, but he was a 5-star signee. So that was a really big deal. In 2013, Nick Marshall was a 3-star recruit coming out of JUCO as a quarterback. As a cornerback going to Georgia out of high school, he was a high 4 or 5-star recruit depending on the service. He was a 3-star recruit coming out of JUCO, wherever he was in Kansas. However, there's a guy named Carl Lawson that Auburn was able to secure in the very first signing class for Gus Malzahn. And he actually made a really big difference for that defense, which was, again, not a great defense. But we had a couple guys, D4, Carl Lawson.
Yeah, D4 was crazy.
The true freshman that year, too. I mean, listen, there's no kick six if he doesn't stop Alabama on that 4th down. Or what was it? Yeldon. It was TJ Yeldon. Stone Cold. So huge pickup.
So when I'm thinking about the success of these seasons, 2010, 2013, 2017, it really comes down to, did any one of our most important players, did they come in via those signing classes? With 2010, we know it was Fairley, who was a JUCO from like 2 years prior, actually. He was a JUCO pickup out of Mobile. Not JUCO. He was from Mobile. He didn't go to JUCO in Mobile, but Fairley and Cam, I think we can all agree. Without Fairley and Cam, we needed both to make that happen. Mostly Cam, but Fairley was important as well. 2013, it was mostly about the battery, Nick Marshall, Trey Mason, and Jay Prosh. Does not happen without Jay Prosh. We needed that fullback, that moment to get that done. We have players, and we're glad these players here. I don't want to sit here and talk about our most important players and make it sound like these other guys were just chopped liver. We need all of the guys who were here, because even if they weren't the most highly touted players, once the team came together and played well, everybody was playing at their maximum potential. And that's something that you see happen with really good teams once they get to that point in the season where they realize we really got something to play for here and we're good. Everybody starts believing, and then everybody kind of plays to the top of their game. The players we had here, and Mike has said this plenty of times, Tuberville didn't have highly heralded players everywhere, but Tuberville got the most out of these players. And that's something you also saw happening across the board with Auburn. So this is no disrespect to the other guys who were on those teams. But these teams come down to like 2 players each every year. So when I think about those teams that are so highly recruited, where we had a couple players that were very highly recruited, I almost think it's a little bit fool's gold. I think it's a little bit fool's gold that you got to have a top 7. Or if you're going to pick this 4-star over this 4-star, then just pick correctly. Like Lamar Jackson wasn't a 5-star recruit, but we could have gotten him as a 3-star instead of Tyler Queen as a 3-star. And how does Auburn look? Does that signing class look any different in 2016 when we signed, or 2015 when we signed, if we signed Lamar Jackson instead of Tyler Queen? No.
I don't know, but I'm triggered right now. We'll continue.
Yeah.
You just got to pick the right dude. And if that dude ends up being special, I think, of course, we all know it's a much higher chance that you get a special player out of the 5-star pool in the high 4-star pool. But you just got to get a couple of guys right, and they can carry you to the promised land. So do I think these rankings count? Sure. If they're indicative of an increased effort in recruiting the best players, and a couple of those players end up being extremely special. Yes, that's important. It don't have to be, though. It don't have to be high 7. It don't have to be 7, 6, or 5 nationally. It can be 10, 11, or 12. But if you hit correctly on the players that you bring in, you can have the exact same results.
Yeah. Listen, 5 stars need to come in and play like 5 stars. Yeah. And so that's why you have to evaluate correctly. Caesar was triggered by your Lamar Jackson comment because we were in Atlanta for that Chick-fil-A kickoff game watching Auburn play Louisville. And when Lamar Jackson took the field, Caesar, I remember turning to the Louisville fan like next to us and saying, "Yo, who is that?" And he was like, "Oh, he's Lamar Jackson. We think he's going to be a great player." And I was like, it was understatement of the century, right? Like, that dude was amazing.
Right.
And even though Auburn won that game, it felt like they lost.
For sure.
It was a win that felt like a loss.
Yeah,
we were very lucky to get out of that game with that game. And you could tell Lamar Jackson was going to be a special player. But somebody didn't see him as such.
Right.
And we know how these guys are that want to play quarterback. They don't want to talk about switching positions. They want their shot at quarterback.
Yeah.
Now he's one of the highest paid players in the NFL. And I mean, what would have happened if we just evaluated him as a quarterback? you know, like literally beside Cam, I don't know if there was a better quarterback for his system.
Right. No, there was not.
Yikes, man.
There was not.
Yeah, so you know that's what Ike says this all the time, that when it comes to quarterback, Hugh Freeze has a type.
Mm-hmm.
So pay attention to the guys that he's bringing in. They all fit a certain mold. And if he's going to break that mold, it's going to be because it's the most dynamic talent you've probably seen in quite some time.
Right.
Some guys are just so good, it doesn't matter. You take them. Playmakers are playmakers.
Yeah.
You know, I really believe that. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes down for him.
And one of the things I wanted to point out too is one of the things that I think Tuberville was a sneaky good recruiter. I don't think he got a lot of the credit that he deserved for being as strong of a recruiter, because I think he hung his hat on development, because we saw during his era he would take 2 stars and turn them into 4 stars.
It was harder back then too, Caesar.
Yeah.
Like it was much harder, right?
Yeah.
They didn't have the technology. It was a harder prospect to recruit then than it was. And coaches still fly out to see guys and stuff. And it's just kind of like, they've turned recruiting into, speed dating, man. It's like, Tinder. You go on and you look at a bunch of trash profiles, and then, you're wondering, like, is this a catfish? And you're just trying to figure out what's going on with a lot of these guys.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it was harder back then, I think. And when they really identified a guy, they believed in him. But also, a lot of those guys, like our guy Ben Grubbs, friend of the show, he was a lineman for Auburn, during the undefeated run, and he was part of the winningest class in Auburn history, 4-year class in Auburn history. He came in, he played defense his whole life until he got to Auburn. Mm-hmm. Coach Yox and Hunall said, "Listen, man, if you make some changes and you switch to O-line, you're going to have a long career in the NFL." And boy, were they right.
Yeah.
9 years in the NFL later, they were right. So to Caesar's point, yeah, they were good. He was a talented defensive player.
Mm-hmm.
But they just felt like he was a better fit at lineman. And he talks about, he talked about even quitting during that stretch. But they believed in him and they brought him along. And that's what I expect from this staff when it comes to recruiting, man. Get these guys in, get them in the right position, sell them.
Right.
And then make it happen for them.
Y'all make an interesting point that I want to ask. And I'm challenging the thought that Hugh Freeze has. Again, I'm all for assigning top 10, top 7 recruiting classes. But how does the transfer portal factor into this? Because I think this has been a game changer in modern football, because you don't have to worry about the transfer portal when you're bringing in guys from the portal in some key positions that you're filling out. I don't think Auburn gets to where they're not taking anyone out of the portal moving forward. You just want to take more high school kids and portal guys, obviously. You don't want to make a living like some other schools are doing with the transfer portal. But how does that factor in terms of these top recruiting classes? Because if you don't finish in the top 10, do you make up for it in the portal?
Yeah, I think that when you talk about the portal, you have to also talk about the attrition that happens because of the portal that opens up spots for guys to come in outside of normal high school recruiting.
Right.
So I think you will regularly see 1/3 of a roster turnover because of guys exiting and needing more guys to come in. I think it's going to be a regular thing in college football. 33% of the roster is going to turn over every year. You're going to lose guys to eligibility. You're going to lose guys to the portal. You're going to lose guys to, weed. You're going to lose guys to a lot of different things. And, if your school drug test, right? Like, there's going to be
lascivious behavior. Weed shenanigans.
I know, scandalous tapes. Like, you're going to lose guys to a lot of stuff. So what you have to do is you're going to have to fill those needs through the portal. So, it's not going to – I don't think it's going to take away spots from high school guys because, like I said, that natural attrition is going to be there. Mm-hmm. But it factors in, and there are a couple of these services that are now rating portal classes and then trying to factor it into some kind of fair formula because you have tape on – hopefully you have tape, ideally, on guys that jump in the portal. Right. Maybe half and half. A lot of those might be in the portal because they haven't played. Right. But, when I say tape, I mean tape at the college level. So yeah, it factors in. It factors in certainly. The portal is important. I mean, think about it. If the portal were around in 2010, Cam would have been a portal. He would have been a portaler.
Yeah.
Right. But instead he went the junior college route and then came back. If the portal is there in 2010, Auburn might not even get him.
Probably not.
Right? They might not even get him.
Just by virtue of how they got him, I don't think they would have gotten him.
Yeah, well, he wouldn't have had to go to purgatory for a year.
Right.
He would have just transferred out of Florida to another big time school, and just about everybody would have taken him. Right. So I think, when you're talking about the portal, there are going to be so few of those guys that come in. Personally, I think can have a huge impact. Brian made a good point about that 2010 team. Fairley and Cam were both transfers, junior college transfers.
Mm-hmm.
Easily the two most important people on the team.
By far.
But there are so few of those guys in the portal.
Right.
We don't talk enough about the guys who enter the portal and end up homeless and jobless and schoolless.
Yeah. Or take several rungs down to get back on the field.
Right.
Yeah.
So the same type of evaluation you're putting the high school recruiting has to go into picking guys from the portal. Now, again, I'll go here because I said it and I stand by it. Mm-hmm. Right. When you look at like Peyton Thorne as an example, who I think he's going to have to lose the job personally, where everything stands right now. I think he's going to have to lose the job because he raises the floor in that room.
Mm-hmm.
And that production is what they're expecting out of him.
Mm-hmm.
What he did last year, what was it? 19 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, like 26, 27, 2,800 yards, somewhere around there, right? Like that's 700 to 800 yards better than what Auburn's quarterbacks did last year,
right?
Through the air. And it could open up a lot of things for you. Now, whether he can replicate that in the SEC or not, left to be said. But that is where people are going to be looking at Hugh Freeze.
Yeah,
right.
You're a quarterback guru. You evaluated this guy, and from what I understand, he was always their guy. So a lot of names, Casey Thompson, a lot of names were being floated around there. They wanted Peyton Thorne bad. So that, to me, that adds an extra level of pressure. You wanted this guy. Now he's here. If he doesn't perform, what are fans to believe about how you evaluate guys? If he plays worse than he did at Michigan State. Now, mind you, Michigan State is a program in turmoil right now. But, he was part of an 11-2 team, and still, people point to the season he had last year, and I'm just like, but it was still better than anything Auburn has done, really.
Right.
That would have been like the second best season from a quarterback since Stidham.
I mean, listen, I just saw what he did with guys like Bo Wallace.
Yeah.
Like I see what he's done with those guys. Like I think Thorne's gonna be okay. I think he's gonna be okay.
Yeah. But I guess my point is that like it'll be very easy to look at that quarterback position, see who they picked, and see how they perform, and say, okay, listen, if Thorne tears it up, people are not going to doubt him in terms of evaluation. And even if he doesn't, if he pivots and he brings Robbie Ashford along, huge win.
Yeah.
Either way, whoever you put in there needs to perform, or you got to pivot quickly to somebody who will.
Great.
And recruits are looking at that, man. I think it still matters to recruits what you do with the guys that you have.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because if I'm a dual threat quarterback and Robbie Ashford doesn't show out in your system, I'm like, he is as physically talented as anybody out there playing quarterback.
Right.
He's got the arm, right? He's got the skates. He's got the strength. He's got the size, the height. Man, come on. Develop this guy into an all-SEC quarterback. And if you go out and get somebody, you damn well better make sure that guy can play like an SEC quarterback.
Yeah.
Now, all the questions about evaluation will go away. Fans are so jaded, guys, by the past of misevaluation and the one-hit wonders seemingly that come through every 4 years to give fans hope that they're building some kind of consistency in that area, and then it all falls apart the next year.
So I'm excited about Thorne because, again, if you keep this guy for a year or two, or even 1 year, but you're able to show improvement at the QB position over the course of several quarterbacks and not just one, then that's
Correct.
exciting for the future of that QB room under Hugh
look,
Freeze.
I'll say this, and I said this again, I stand by it. If Robbie Ashford beats out Peyton Thorne, I will feel really good about Robbie Ashford at quarterback.
Yeah.
Because I think that Thorne is a serviceable quarterback.
Yeah.
And that means that Robbie will have raised his game through the air by like 50%.
Yeah.
And he'll be a 3,000. I think if he beats out Thorne, he's going to be a 3,000-yard passer. I have no doubt in my mind.
He's going to be a problem if he beats him out.
If he beats out Thorne, like, just watch out for him. I think he's going to have a phenomenal year.
Yeah. Agree.
We will see for sure. We will definitely see. We also finna see who's gonna win this T-shirt because that's what we're giving away, guys. Courtesy of War Eagle Oil. Hashtag get your weight up in the comments. Mike G is gonna give you some time.
Yeah,
he's being nice like that.
I said I wanted 150, but I'll settle for 100. We're at 94 right now. I need 6 of y'all to jump in this thing, man, before I hit a rolling. Somewhere Ike is rolling around having nightmares because I'm waiting. But I like to see a nice triple digits here before we hit that. I see you guys doing it. Keep doing it until we get to 100. And you guys complained about the mug, man. I'm gonna wear a T-shirt. Come on now. 4. Can I get 4 more? You can do it.
It's been on 96 for a minute.
Oh, I know.
So some of y'all must
it's
be
just lagging. Oh, 97.
Some of y'all must be repeats.
Yeah.
I see what's happening here. I think it should pick up in a minute. I'm gonna grab a comment here while Mike G
two more. I need 2 more.
Corey Weber says, I think Perry loves AU and feels more comfortable at AU. Doesn't mean he'll flip though.
Yeah, that's true. You can love it and still want to go play for the other coach.
You know what's interesting though regarding Perry Thompson and AU. So I'm looking at his page up on Rivals. Mm-hmm. He committed to Bama on 6/4/2022. Okay. Now, what I know at that time, Bryce Young was the quarterback. Okay. It was the summer before after Bryce Young's Heisman season. Okay. He had not had a visit to Alabama. Has not. Because they show your official visits or your like weekend scheduled visits, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's unofficial.
Right. Well, some of them, if it's unofficial, but not all, because sometimes these kids really just roll up there with somebody they know, but
because I think his official was before Auburn's, right?
Hey,
Chris K.
So. Chris K, you win, bro.
Let us know if you're here. But keep it your thought, B.
So he's had 4 visits to Auburn since January. January 14th, March 15th, April 8th, and of course this past weekend, June 16th.
Boy, couldn't get all that NIL money on one trip.
he had to come back for more bags.
We'll
come back. We'll come back. We'll get some more. We got to clear out the trunk.
I'll pick up the truck later. I get this heavy on the next truck.
Man,
Chris K is here.
Our guy. Listen, man. You know what to do, dude. Email us, business@thewarreport. That's business@thewarreport.com. We need your T-shirt size, sir, and your address. So please do not forget your T-shirt size, or you will get a medium. It won't fit. It'll be the worst thing in your closet, but it will say War Report on it. So T-shirt size and address, sir.
Congratulations. B. Will, your point.
Yeah. So that's a lot of visits to Auburn with very, very few, if any, to Bama. It seems like he recruited way ahead of time. Bama's a big boy on the block, going into his junior year. You recruit, you commit, you get it out of the way. You're going to go somewhere that's a great program, and you don't think about it until a coach gets hired at Auburn who loves tall wide receivers, who has done some great work with tall wide receivers, who wants to sling the ball, and then Bama gets an OC that makes it look like they might be back to 3 yards in the cloud of dust. I have made this point before. I think you and me were talking on the show, C. And they had a very good run at OC. Alabama did. You had Lane Kiffin in 14.
They did.
Lane Kiffin in 15. I think 2016 was the season. It was still Lane Kiffin, but then he cut out early to go take the other job. Then you had Sark, 17.
No. Saban told him to have a seat. We don't need you in the championship. That's what happened.
So then you got Sark 17, 18, 19, 20. So for two coordinators span 7 years. And in those 7 years, they had the best quarterback play in the history of Alabama football. Jalen Hurts, Tua Tagovailoa, Mac Jones in the season he was able to put together, even though he's not an all-time great quarterback.
I would even argue that, what was that, a guy, Blake Sims?
But see, part of that is the Lane Kiffin effect, see?
Right, yeah.
Because he wanted to open up. He wanted to throw the ball, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what you get are two OCs who want to throw the ball. You get some phenomenal weapons. Wide receivers start committing. You get Bryce Young to commit, albeit before Sark was gone, but he committed and he stayed because he was the truth. He elevated the program as well because Bill O'Brien was not the level of offensive coordinator as far as on the college level that the last two guys were. So we're talking about it a lot. Playing time these kids want. Yeah, they want the money. They want the NIL. They want the compensation. Sure, they want that too. But they want the development. And I think what a lot of players are keying in on now is you can hype me up and tell me everything you want to tell me. But when I get there, am I going to have to block 80% of the time and the quarterback's going to be inaccurate throwing to me and then I got to fight for receptions? Is my highlight reel going to look like a TikTok instead of looking like a legit long YouTube video? What are you going to do with me when I'm there? Hugh Freeze has a better reputation with offense than either one of the guys with their hands in the offense at Alabama right now. He has a better reputation with offense, Hugh Freeze does, than either one of the guys who are there right now.
The reason Hugh Freeze is one of those OCs, the SEC wouldn't allow it.
He did. He wanted them. Oh, man, that would have been terrible, right? They'd been killing it. But that's why Perry Thompson flipping isn't so far-fetched to me. He committed before all these changes took place there at Alabama, and definitely before the changes took place here. Where we are right now, you're telling me right now that if Auburn can compensate you just as well, if not better than Bama, because our alum base has more money to give than Alabama's alum base. That's not even a stretch. That's just a verifiable fact. You can get compensated just as well. You're going to be on just as many primetime games because we're playing all the same teams Bama is. All we have to show is that we are willing to give you the ball. We let you talk to the dude who's 6'3", killing it in Seattle, catching passes from, well, it used to be Russell Wilson, and this year was Geno Smith. Geno Smith had an amazing season in Seattle. They locked him up with a big deal. That wide receiver is in the league making money, making his quarterback money. You know what Hugh Freeze wants to do with offense. You know what he wants to do with big wide receivers. Mm-hmm. This now, assuming that he can put together a decent offensive year with this Auburn football team, this may be a better, more attractive spot for offensive talent than Alabama is, because that run on OCs, legendary. It was a great pickup, Nick. Smart to get out your comfort zone and stop just run. Get some guys to sling it who wanted to game plan slinging the ball. That's over with. They got their jobs. They signed their deal. They signed to Ole Miss. They signed to Texas. They got their money. What are you going to do? Nick's like, I'm going back to what I know. All right, but are the kids going to want to go back to that, though? That's the question. Are high school recruits, quarterbacks, or wide receivers going to want to go back to ball control, run, and I might hit you over the top? Is that cool with them? I don't know. I guess we'll see.
We will see. All right, let me grab some super chats before we get out of here. WMPGA says AU has to be a top 10 recruit consistently. They have to recruit on the top 10 level consistently to compete.
Yep, that's what Hugh Freeze said. So accurate. This is accurate. As a matter of fact, he says if they're not in the top 10, they're all going to be looking for jobs in 3 years.
That's what. Yeah, that was.
Yeah, he said that.
Right. We're going to
be
looking for jobs.
So, yeah, don't at me.
So no, I mean, the way he's recruiting, obviously he feels that way.
He's recruiting like he believes every word of that.
Right.
Life is on the line.
Michigan hasn't had a top 10 class either of these last 2 years. Yeah.
That's a development right there. See, that's a good point for what could be the case.
Okay, but you know how we go back and re-rank classes? I bet you if you went and you re-ranked those classes, they would be rated higher than they finished.
And I'm also curious because you got to remember each year in the top 10, you got like 5 SEC schools in the class. right? So you're already like, if you're recruiting at a certain level in the SEC, like if Auburn came in top 10, as exciting as that is, there's about 4 schools who are ahead of you.
Right.
So if you're in the Big 10 and you recruit top 12, you're still probably the top 3 school in your conference in terms of competition. So it kind of averages out in that way, in my opinion. So in the SEC, you do have to again, to the previous poster's point, top 10 is necessary to at least be in the conversation with your peers and rivals.
Yeah,
it is. Although Michigan beat a more talented team in Ohio State.
They did do, and that is fair. That is a fair point.
Yeah,
that
but
is
then
a fair
they
point.
But then they flub in the playoffs. Right, then they flub it in the playoffs.
I think they choked against TCU more than they got beat. That was awful.
They got beat down against Georgia.
Yeah, I would have much rather have watched Michigan versus Georgia.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, as a title game, personally, but that's me.
That would have been a rematch of the prior playoffs where Georgia smoked them. I think they would have gotten up for that game, obviously. Chris S says, I saw Kyle Frazier taking snaps in some 2012 highlights.
Yeah, what a miss, huh? Like, what a miss. He was a 5-star.
He was a 5-star recruit.
He was a 5-star quarterback, right? Like, how we get the only 5-star that bust, right?
That's not the only one. We're just
if you are a 5-star, you're supposed to be a can't miss recruit.
Supposed to be.
You're supposed to be
a can't miss recruit, right?
Sometimes
either that or
misevaluate some of these kids.
Or 5 stars don't mean anything anymore.
Or that.
They do.
I just don't know how they called him a 5-star, man. I mean, no hate toward Kyle Frazier, but Buddy was not a quarterback.
Kyle Frazier, Byron Coward. More recently, depending on the service, Dylan Brooks was a 5-star recruit. Didn't work out. We don't get enough of them to miss on the ones.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what's disappointing. We get like one every 3 years.
Fair.
We have a really good season. We'll get 2 in 1 year, and to not have our 5-star pickups turn into studs while they're here, it's a huge miss for us.
Yeah, I agree. That was a great point. Right? They just don't get enough of them to miss on the ones that you do get.
Right.
Wagner Brooks says, y'all forgot about Brian Daboll. He did.
I forgot about Daboll. Yeah, he was a good coordinator too.
He was there, what, a year or two? Was he there a year or two?
2 years. I want to say 2 years.
2 years. He did well. That's a good point.
When did he come on? What years were he?
He was. I think he was right after.
Was he right after Kiffin?
I think he was right after Kiffin.
Okay,
was right after Kiffin.
Did he? Yeah, he had to be. Yeah,
he was right after Kiffin. Right, he was right after Kiffin. He was in between. He was actually in between Kiffin and Sark.
We didn't have a show then, but I noted that Saban's hiring of Lane Kiffin, it marked a shift in his thinking about where offense was going in college football.
Right.
I was terrified when he hired Kiffin. I was like, oh my God, 3 yards in a cloud of dust football is gone at Bama.
Yeah.
And then they started slinging, and then they just start pumping out NFL quarterbacks a few years later. So, I mean,
for sure. All right. Got one more here. Let's see here. All right. Thomas Jones, appreciate the super sticker. He asked, what do you guys think will be a media days for Auburn?
I have literally emailed the athletic department asking this question. They do not know. I know before certain things happened this summer, Jarquez Hunter might have been a slam dunk to go. So I would expect to see a guy like Tate Johnson, maybe.
Jason Jones.
Luke Deal may go.
What do you think about Jason Jones?
Yeah,
Jason Jones. Yeah, I like Jason Jones. Yeah, to go.
Mature guy. Been here.
Yeah, very mature guy. And maybe somebody like Keontae Scott. I mean, DJ James is going to be projected to be an all-SEC corner. So maybe you take him. Last year, we got John Samuel Shanker, Tank, and Derek Hall.
Papo. Oh, yeah, Derek Hall.
Derek Hall.
That's right.
Derek Hall. That's what we got last year. So we got 2 offensive guys and 1 defensive guy last year.
What's the likelihood that a newcomer is going to represent Auburn?
I think unlikely.
I don't think so.
I think they're very unlikely. But this is a new coach too, so who knows? Right? Like, I think if you get chosen as a newcomer to go to SEC Media Days, just go ahead and pencil in your spot. Like, you're going to see the field. I don't think they're going to take anybody who's not going to play. So, yeah.
Stark Vice mentions McAllister, which isn't a stretch.
Elijah McAllister. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a stretch.
He's
Not a
mature.
stretch.
But
Yeah.
I don't think you send somebody who just got here over guys who have been in the program
Yeah.
a little longer. So that's why I like the names.
But McAllister makes sense because of just about everyone at that position is new.
Yeah,
That's true.
If they send Jay Fair, y'all ain't gonna be able to shut me up. Let them mess around and send Jay Fair to the SEC Media Days. Everybody told me he wasn't gonna start. I'm coming for you. I'm coming for your neck.
Goodness, girl, what a victory lap for Mike G if that ever happens. Goodness gracious, you thought he was annoying. Now he's not going to let you forget about it.
You know, I think before Malcolm Johnson got hurt, like I think he might have been a guy that they would have taken to media days that would have represented the university well. Because it's not always about who your next star is, more so than it is about guys who understand the Auburn way and can speak, you know, and represent the university at a high level in front of the cameras, man. You know, those interviews, those guys have to do so many interviews in one day.
For sure.
They're walking around to all the media tables. I mean, we'll be right there on Media Row. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I think Tate Johnson is a real good candidate for media days. Take a lineman. You know, people don't understand. Linemen are some of the most intelligent people on a football team. Offensive linemen are some of the most intelligent people on a football team. Those guys are really smart. Yeah. And I think you have to be to play that position.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I see some of the names you guys are mentioning. Philip Coleman says Jones, Pritchett, Tate Johnson. I thought about Pritchett.
Yeah, he would be
someone mentioned Dana Jones mentioned Simpson. Not bad. Stark Bice says Jason Jones, DJ James, Tate Johnson. So two defensive guys. Okay. I'm pretty sure it's likely we'll see two defensive guys. I'd be surprised if it's two offensive guys because there's so many newcomers on the offensive side.
Yeah.
It's almost safe to go two defensive and one offensive. But we will definitely see. Obviously, that's going to be a story once they announce that next month. We will be there to cover that and discuss that. Good show, gentlemen. Mike G, tell the folks what they need to be doing and how they can get a green name.
Yeah, become a Patreon member, man. Support the work we're doing here at the War Report. We appreciate everybody who joins our community in this way. There's power in numbers, guys. So $5.99 a month. You know, we try to price this thing so you can just set it and forget it and support the work we're doing. So we love our big sponsors, but we also love our little sponsors every month with you guys' contributions. It helps to keep us afloat and keep growing our content. You can give the gift of the War Report by hitting that gifted membership button as well. This will be chosen at random by YouTube for people who have interacted with our channel at a high level, but maybe have not made the decision to support financially with a monthly contribution. So give the gift of the War Report. Let them get a taste of these film reviews. That is patron exclusive content for the most part. Definitely want to thank War Eagle Oil for sponsoring today's giveaway. Big shout out to HarmonMechanical.com. As always, guys, HarmonMechanical.com, or hit them up 334-219-0717 for all your heating and cooling needs. It's hot out here this summer down in the South. You definitely want to keep cool with Harmon Mechanical. Shout to the Rogue Shop for always sponsoring the War Report. Longtime sponsor, our guy Richard. He's got all the stuff to help you guys with sleep, pain, anxiety, stress. They've got it at the Rogue Shop. Use code Report to get 15% off that next order. And last but not least, definitely want to thank our show sponsor, AuburnSports.com. Our guy JG Tate, believed in us early. He's been on board since day one, so we appreciate that for him. Go over to AuburnSports.com. Please subscribe to them as well, too, to get all your recruiting news and your inside insights. I know they're talking about a lot of interesting stuff over there on the bunker. BMAT, Stoltze, those guys, and our guy Caleb Jones, all sharing their work over there. Caleb's doing a real good job right now. I mean, he's all over the place.
We're going to have him back on soon.
Yeah,
for sure.
So we appreciate all our sponsors, and we appreciate you guys.
And guys, show that you appreciate us. You know how you can do that? By sharing this video. Share it on social media, guys. Smash that like button. Help us with the YouTube algorithm. For those of you who are new to the channel, please subscribe. I mentioned social media, Facebook, Twitter, but we're also on Instagram at The War Report. You can find us also on TikTok at TW Report. That's it for now, guys, but we will be back with a drop tomorrow.
Yes.
Yes,
special drop tomorrow since we didn't do it today. So
that's right.
We're dropping tomorrow. Check us out then. We will see you on tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And as always, War Eagle, everyone.
War Eagle.
War Eagle.